At nearly $400 million, Aaron Rodgers has earned more money than any player in NFL history. He's a four-time MVP, one-time Super Bowl MVP, and an all-time great, a legend who will never be forgotten. In other words, he doesn't have to do this football player thing anymore if he doesn't want to. Rodgers, however, clearly does still want to play and perform at a high level. At 41 years old, Rodgers made his debut for the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday against the New York Jets, the team he played for the last two seasons, resulting in nothing short of a spectacular failure as he tried to prove he can still thrive away from the Green Bay Packers. We could talk at length about the torn Achilles 4 plays into his nationally televised opening game that ended his fourth season, the behind-the-scenes machinations that led the Jets to fire head coach Robert Saleh midway through his second season, or the very public manner in which he was booted out the door in a public statement. It became very obvious Sunday afternoon that a motivated, pissed-off Rodgers with something to prove can still be a high-level NFL quarterback even into his 40s. Rodgers completed 22 of his 30 passes for 248 yards with 4 touchdowns and no interceptions in Pittsburgh's thrilling 34-32 win over New York. It was the 28th game of his career throwing for at least 4 TD, with no picks in a game, tying Tom Brady for the all-time record. Only Brady and Drew Brees now have more 4 TD games than AR. Revenge was definitely Rodgers' biggest motivating factor against Gang Green, telling reporters after the game that, "I was happy to beat everyone associated with the Jets." Not to get into Rodgers' head too much, which we've learned in many different ways is a dangerous game, but there was little doubt that someone with his competitive, absurdly driven mindset didn't want to finish his career the way things turned out a season ago. Although he threw 28 TDs to just 11 interceptions last season, the Jets went 5-12 under his leadership with a 44.7 QBR that ranked 25th out of the league's 32 starting signal callers. Instead of ending his 20-year Hall of Fame career, Rodgers inked a one-year, $13.65 million deal with the Steelers that included $10 million guaranteed and incentives that can take the deal up to $19.5 million. In New Jersey on Sunday, Rodgers was loudly booed by the MetLife Stadium crowd, where tens of thousands of fans were certain he had nothing left in the tank. "There were probably people in the organization that didn't think I could play anymore," he said, "so it was nice to show those people I still can." Stay ahead of the game. Get our newsletters. Subscribe for the biggest stories in the business of sports and entertainment, daily. Rodgers performing well against the Jets with all the juice and motivation in the world is one thing, but he still has to prove he can guide a winning franchise the rest of the season during mundane games like a 1 p.m. Week 2 game against Seattle or a Week 3 contest in New England. Can he consistently get up for games all year long and reproduce the elite ball he displayed against New York? While he clearly doesn't need the money, Rodgers will receive $500,000 for Pittsburgh making the playoffs, $600,000 for making the divisional round, $1 million for making the Super Bowl, and $1.5 million for winning the championship. He's out to prove that he can still compete with the best quarterbacks in the league and that his last dance is on his own terms. With his Jets tenure behind him and the bad taste in his mouth gone, Aaron Rodgers now has the chance to live out an ending to his career that he feels he deserves. The Pittsburgh Steelers lost safety Deshaun Elliott to a sprained MCL in the season-opening contest against the New York Jets. In light of this, the Steelers acted quickly and signed former New England Patriots safety Jabril Peppers. The Michigan product was a surprise cut ahead of the regular season, something he discussed when speaking with the media on Wednesday. "It just is what it is," Peppers said. "Sometimes you're not good enough. When you play a long time in this league, you're going to get traded or cut. I'm happy Mike Tomlin made the call." Peppers will be wearing number 40 with the Steelers, and we'll see how many reps he gets in Week 2 against Seattle. Aaron Rodgers didn't start a game his first 3 seasons in the NFL, but did have the opportunity to throw 1 touchdown pass. It was in his 3rd season, in relief of starter Brett Favre, when Rodgers connected with Greg Jennings for an 11-yard score during a Packers loss to the Cowboys. It wasn't too meaningful, of course not nearly as impactful as the 2 touchdown passes Rodgers threw to Jennings in Super Bowl 45, but it was the first of 507. Rodgers, the Steelers' new quarterback at age 41, stands on the precipice of tying Favre for fourth place on the all-time TD pass list. Rodgers needs one more to tie Favre, two to pass him into fourth place behind Tom Brady, 649, Drew Brees, 571, and Peyton Manning, 539. Rodgers, though, said the achievement wouldn't be marked by a celebration. "It's just a longevity achievement," he said. "Some touchdowns, you make exceptional plays. Some, the scheme is so good, like the one to Jaylen Warren in the game. All I've got to do is not screw it up. And then sometimes you throw a short one to a guy and he goes 60 and it goes in the column all the same. So there've been a lot of guys involved in that, including the guys blocking, the guys calling the plays. Every now and then, I made some special throws that led to touchdowns, but I've been playing a long time. It's a longevity thing that, I'm proud of, but it's not a big deal." Rodgers threw 4 TD passes last Sunday in leading the Steelers to a 34-32 win over the New York Jets. It was the most TD passes in one game by a Steelers QB making his debut, and the most by any player in the NFL during the past opening weekend. Going back to last season's regular season finale with the Jets, Rodgers is riding a 2-game streak of throwing 4 TD passes in a game. It's the 4th time he's had such productive back-to-back games, but he's never done it in 3 consecutive games. While Rodgers threw TD passes to 4 different receivers, Ben Skowronek, Jonnu Smith, Warren, Calvin Austin, he didn't throw one to his camp roommate and the receiver he calls the lead dog, DK Metcalf. The Steelers and Metcalf are playing his former team, the Seattle Seahawks, on Sunday. Metcalf begs that it's not a bigger game to him than any other, but Rodgers has a keen eye for such details. DK made 2 of the bigger plays in the game, Rodgers said of Metcalf's 4 for 83 performance against the Jets. DK played how he plays in practice. The best players can make practice like a game environment, so the game was not too big. I thought he had a nice game. Rodgers mentioned after the Jets game that Metcalf had sent him text messages during the previous week regarding the Jets. And on Monday, the day after the game, Rodgers and Metcalf were in focused conversation in the locker room during media hour. "He cares about it," Rodgers said. "He cares about it enough to watch the film, to put in the time, to take notes, ask questions, come over and sit next to me during the week at various times to try and get on the same page. So I love it." That's unfortunately not the standard around the league. Now, it was a lot of times in Green Bay because those guys kind of saw what it was like with Jordy Nelson, and then Randall Cobb, James Jones, and Davante Adams got to watch that. He was the next guy in line. So there's a way of going about it. But when you're the lead dog in the room, and also a great guy who prepares the right way, it makes it easy for the rest of the room to follow his lead. Perhaps even follow Metcalf's lead all the way to TD pass number 508 and beyond. The Pittsburgh Steelers are placing quarterback Skylar Thompson and linebacker Malik Harrison on injured reserve. Harrison suffered an MCL sprain against the New York Jets. That injury was expected to knock him out for multiple weeks, and he will now miss at least the next 4 games. Harrison was already ruled out for the team's Week 2 matchup against the Seattle Seahawks by Mike Tomlin. Harrison is the 3rd Steelers player to suffer an MCL sprain along with defensive lineman Derek Harmon and safety Deshaun Elliott. Harrison suffered the injury on the Jets' final touchdown, a Justin Fields 1-yard scamper, of the game where he collided with a Jets offensive lineman in the pile. He served as the team's OLB4 with Nick Herbig out due to a hamstring strain. An Ohio State product, Harrison was able to play in 15 games for the Ravens, notching 2 sacks and 54 tackles throughout the season alongside Roquan Smith. The Ravens went through multiple players after benching Trenton Simpson, including Harrison, who struggled. Thompson suffered a hamstring injury on Friday during practice, but was still listed as the 3rd quarterback on the team's roster on Sunday against the Jets. This now forces him to miss at least the next 4 games. A 7th-round pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, Thompson was thrust into the starting role for the Dolphins far earlier than anticipated due to injuries. However, in his playing time, Thompson struggled and was injured. He has completed 58.7% of his passes while throwing 1 touchdown and 4 interceptions in 138 pass attempts. Thompson has 721 career passing yards and has added 25 rushing yards.